Hey team, grab your headphones. It's time for a Step Outside podcast. Today we're sitting in the helm of Tweed Bait's purse-seining boat called Southerly. Moored at the Yamba Boat Harbour, we're talking to Captain Peter Kerr, an accomplished angler and master helmsman from New Zealand. He's fished the waters of the rough straits through to pole lining for tuna. And of course, catching the humble old pilchard. It's time to podcast. Hello, mate. How are you?
I'm great. I'm absolutely fantastic.
Mate, great to have you on board. In fact, I'm great to be on board your vessel this morning.
Yeah, it was a beautiful morning, wasn't it?
It absolutely was. Guys, what we're talking to you about today, wherever you are listening to this podcast, it's about per se netting for pilchards. Now, this is something I've never done before, catching fresh bait, understanding how it ends up in the stores, in the shops, in packets, in boxes, or whatever it might be, and the process that fishermen go through to actually get it to the consumer. And Pete, you are at the helm of this, mate. This particular vessel here, what is she that we are on?
It's an ex-cray boat out of Western Australia. It's built by GBB, which is Gelton Boat Builders. It's a southerly design, southerly, well known over in Western Australia. And Tweed Bait bought it about 3.5 years ago, and I was involved in getting it changed over to purse-seining, and I brought it over, sailed it over to from Fremantle to here.
How was that trip coming? You did the bottom end? You didn't do the lavish lifestyle of the top end?
No, we did the bottom end. We thought we timed it right. It was in April, but unfortunately we got some really, really strong winds with 50 knot winds in the bight, northerly, which pushed us out to sea on our track by about 50 miles.
Yeah, wow.
Did
it get rough?
It was very rough. It was rough. The waves were coming in higher than the boat,
Yeah, wow. And we're on a fairly big boat. She's pretty much 3 stories up top here in the
17.3 metre boat. She's a nice boat.
She's a big girl. Mate, the trip around the bottom end, obviously between Bass Strait, we're talking Tasmania and Victoria. How was that crossing? Was that calmer than the bottom?
That was good, actually. We had a good trip across there. Yeah, it was just the bight was the problem. Okay. And we had a few problems with the boat. We had the pilot was playing up, but anyway, we had to steer most of the way by hand.
Yeah, okay. Mate, and using the sextant, no doubt, and then the stars. Mate, obviously when it comes to per se netting, mate, this is something that I just can't believe how efficient you guys do this. It is a well-oiled machine. Now,
it is.
What we did, everybody, is we jumped on early this morning and we filmed a segment for Step Outside, and we're doing a lot of stuff with Tweed Bait now, because Tweed Bait is sold around the entire eastern seaboard of the country. And, fresh is best when it comes to quality seafood, quality bait in this particular case. And, of course, with Tweed, they said, look, why don't you jump on our vessel and head on out, give Pete a call, he'll be obliging and put us on board, and that's what's happened. So, mate, we went out this morning on your boat. We left at 3 a.m, nice and early, which is Queensland time, 4 a.m. New South Wales time. And we got out there. The way you found the fish is quite, I guess, different compared to a standard sonar. Explain to me, what is it that finds the fish for us?
Well, it's an Omni sonar.
It's a big ocean out there.
It's a big ocean. It's an Omni sonar, which is much better than the old sonar, where you used to just scan like that, boom, 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 and you get a patch of fish, then you have to wait for it to come back around again. So these are much better, 360 degrees, updating 3 times per second. So once you hit a school, like you saw this morning, so it locks onto it basically. So, and then we can tell the size of it and everything like that. So look, it's really, electronics has come a long way in the last few years. And from the old days when I first started pilchard fishing, we didn't even have a sonar. We just had an echo sound. We used to go out, look where the birds were, throw some pollen over the side, get them all birded up, put the net around them, and get a couple of ton and take them in. That was totally different.
It wasn't a Fruno FE400 by any chance, was it? The old paper sounder.
Actually, come to think of it, like
is that right? You have to scroll. The only way you'd lock on it is you'd have to scroll the paper back by hand.
Believe it or not, most of the boats that were fishing in Western Australia, they were all ex-cray boats anyway, and they did have the old paper sounders on there. It was, in the end, it cost more for the paper than what the sounder was worth.
That's exactly right too. And if you missed out on your snapper over here when we were using the FE400, you completely bombed out and did your dough. Mate, back in those days of per se netting, or was it called per se netting
Yeah,
when you were
per
over
se,
WA?
yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
and so similar sort of ideas, because you've got a lot of hooks and rings and all that I learnt this morning that gathers the net up. Everything's got to work like a well-oiled machine,
It does.
or it doesn't.
It was just smaller gear those days, you know, only 100-metre nets and 1,000 meshes
What did
deep.
we shoot this morning?
What, the net length? The net length is 330 metres.
Yeah, wow.
And you saw a bit of overshoot went over, so it gives me a bit extra to get the net deep.
Yep.
And then I can purse up deep. I put it, probably run another 20, 30 metres, 30 metres of overshoot. Sometimes I run 100 metres of overshoot if the school's running fast.
Yeah, wow.
So the net gets to the bottom, or not, it gets it to its maximum depth, so the fish can go up into that corner, you know.
And
so
with your pilchards, I mean, there's ways of keeping them fresh, and you guys have pretty much sussed that out at Tweed Bait, where, you know, I've seen the way that Justin on the deck had everything iced up really quickly.
Well, if you go back to the old days, we didn't even used to use ice, you know. You go back 20, 30, 40 years ago, we never even used ice. Ice has only been to look after our product, has been probably around a long time, but being an ex-Kiwi and an ex-fisherman from over there, I was brought up with ice, you know. So with Sanfords, you know, they used to bring down truckloads of ice for us. So yeah, very important. I knew straight from the start when I started fishing, you've got to bring ice. So when I started fishing, I used to bring ice and look after my fish, and I had a good quality product coming off my boats. And but you never got paid any more for it.
No, no. And ice does cost money at the same time. Money. That's it, even though it's frozen water.
Yeah, but here it's no problem with Tweed, and what they supply as much ice as we want, you know, and we ice the fish down quite heavily, as you saw, and we get a good product to the market, you know, and that's what it's all about.
It is. I've noticed like Tweed Bait is sold across, again, the eastern seaboard, but not in just only supermarkets or in the local convenience stores, but every petrol gas station.
Yeah.
So there's a high demand of seafood or bait required on a daily basis.
It is.
What do you guys chase? Like, when is the prime time for pilchards, for example?
It's different all around Australia, of course, but our prime time is from June through till December. It really depends on the weather, of course, is a big factor. You know, if we get good weather, we can catch it. We can go fishing a lot more and catch a lot more fish.
Yeah.
But we're all under quota. We're under quota system, so you can only catch the X amount of fish, which is good. We look after the stocks, you know. We do the right thing. It's got to be sustainable,
because you know. And I noticed also this morning you have a certain amount of ice bins on the back deck. Therefore, once you've got those full, if you've still got, you know, pilchards in the actual net, you let those go. Yeah.
Well, we don't. The old days they used to roll them, pull them up tight and roll them over the floats, right?
Yeah.
That damages the fish. So I've always believed, and we have what we call, we have a square end. You saw those little rings, you know, on that bit of rope there.
Yeah.
And I can drop that, and that drops down to about 10 metres. It's a nice big drop.
Yeah.
And the fish can just swim out nice and smoothly, and no worries, except when a shark comes along.
Which we did see this morning. The biggest. It looked like a white pointer there at one stage, and then it was just a big, dirty, ugly brown bronze whaler.
Yeah.
He was a big sucker. He would have been. How big would you call him?
Oh, no, he's about one of the biggest I've seen.
Yeah.
He's well over 6 foot, of course.
Oh, absolutely. I would have given him 58. It looks bigger when you're above it, I tell you. No, it's probably he would have been. He was a huge. I reckon he would have been 9-10 foot.
Yeah. He was a nice fish, you know, and. I mean, they look beautiful in the water, but they can do some damage to our nets too, you know.
Have you caught sharks in your nets?
They usually chew themselves out.
Right.
Our net is not, it's strong, but it's not that strong. Let's say put a bite in it and tear it, they can get through it very easily.
It's a nylon mesh that we use in the nets?
It's a polyester.
Polyester, so it's not monofilament fishing line or like a drag net or anything?
No, it's polyester, and it actually breaks down. If you lose some of it, it breaks down after a few years.
Which is a good thing, because, you know, again, you don't want to leave netting all across the deck or the bottom.
We don't. We always make sure that all our rubbish comes ashore, and we don't rip up, very, very rarely rip up on the bottom. We've got all the it's not a great deal of reef out here, to the north, but there's a lot to the south.
Yeah, right.
Off Wangari and things like that. You don't go down there, you know.
No.
It's just so much, the bottom's so bad. But that's good for stocks of fish, eating fish, because there's so much reef and protection for them.
Yep.
And of course the reef produces and the sun produces phytoplankton, which is fantastic for your pilchards.
And
you know,
that's what
they
they love.
feed, and they love the phytoplankton. You know.
What are other catches of bait? Okay, we've gone from the April through June to December. What about other baits? Slimy mackerel, for example.
Yeah, they weren't here last year,
Yeah.
but they were here this year. And I didn't target them, but then one day I shot the pilchards, and they were slimies.
Yeah.
And the company's happy to have them. They sell them, no worries at all. They love them. So,
And as an angler and as a fisherman, I love slimy mackerel, mate. I mean, realistically, if you get a live slimy, it is the bomb.
They're hard to catch. They're very fast. They're very smart. When the slimies are mixed with pilchards, they're so hard to catch because the slimy he's cunning. He'll find the gap, you know. Yeah. And the pilchards will follow him.
Yeah. Okay.
So, well, in that sense, we don't really like them much because they're hard to catch. But this school particular day was just sitting there and got it quite easily.
You didn't shoot twice. You only need to shoot once.
Just
So
shoot
again,
once.
nice and quick and easy.
Yeah, well, it does happen. Sometimes we miss. You know, you miss and you have another go. I mean, I'll go up to 3 times. After that, that's it. I go home.
No,
you know,
that's
I've had
it,
enough. You know, I can remember once in Western Australia, I think we shot 6, and the crew said they're going to, all swim ashore and leave me with my boat, and they do another shot. So I thought I'd better go home. You know,
As
but
you do.
Some days they just know how to get out. You know, you think you're up on them, but they can get you. You know.
How do you go crossing the bars? Because East Coast bars around Australia, or particularly on the eastern seaboard, when you've got an open ocean to an open mouth bar, can be quite dangerous.
It can. Being fishing out of New Zealand and fished the Greymouth and the Westport bars, I know all about it. And the Angihanga bar, that breaks a couple of miles out to sea.
Yeah, gnarly.
You really got to respect them. You know. And I tell everyone, always respect the ocean. You just never know. Be very, very careful. When we were across this bar, like even this morning, I had the radar on, even though I knew it wasn't going to be any swell there.
So the radar will show breaking.
The radar will show the breakers, yeah.
Nice. Okay.
So, and you can see it where it breaks. If it's breaking on the north side, we'll go out the south. If it's breaking on the south, we'll go out the north. But if it's breaking on both sides, we'll turn around and go home, you know.
Yeah, okay. Which is the safety thing.
Yeah, the safety. You know, you've got to think of safety. You've got the crew on board. You've got to think of the boat, the staff and everything like that. So, you've got a responsibility as a skipper. So,
what's the difference between a West Australian pilchard, which is the traditional ones we always would buy, the WA pilchard?
Yeah.
Okay, it's synonymous amongst tailor fishermen, snapper fishermen, flathead fishermen. The list goes on. The East Coast pilchard. There's a little bit of difference there. What is it?
Well, to be honest with you, I haven't noticed it, apart from the size.
That's the one, the size. Because I saw them this morning and they are bloody big. Some of them. There's some nice size ones there, like perfect for a 3 or a 4 gang 5-0.
Oh, yeah.
Or 5 bar-0, as you guys would say from Kiwiland. But, but if you have a look at your, the WA pilly, a little bit smaller.
Yeah, he's a smaller pilly. It's funny, I always wonder where the big one, where the small ones go. They're 30 to the kilo or 35 to the kilo. Why don't we catch them in Western Australia when they're 15 to the kilo? They just don't seem to be there. No one seems to catch. Now and then you might get some, but not very much.
And what about here?
And
what are
here
size?
It seems to be a continuous size. We very rarely we might get the odd school of 30s, and then a few maybe at 25, but majority are between 15 to 20 to the kilo.
Yeah, okay.
Mostly big fish, which are good because they've got more oil and they hold in the hook better.
And that's the thing I've found, the pilchards over here, are they a little bit more oilier because of the size?
Well, it's the size. And when you get a nice fat pilly like them, they're full of oil.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't believe it, it's the water temperature that they sit in. It's the same water temperature they sit in Western Australia.
Okay.
Around the anywhere between 18 to 23 degrees.
Yeah.
We're here this morning was 22.5.
Right.
But it's funny how we got 22.5. You go 100 mile out and it's 26 degrees.
Yeah, it's incredible, yeah.
It's
incredible. Like that whirlpool effect.
Yeah, the whirlpool. We got this cold stream underneath us. You know, this morning the tide was running. Was running back out to the southeast a little bit, but it has been running to the north. And you go out to the shelf and it's running to the south.
It's incredible. That northerly wind, I don't know about you guys for bait catching, but for northerlies, for an angler in my particular part of the world, is horrible. You know, it's a good thing for mangrove jacks and trevally and all that sort of stuff, inshore fish. And offshore you get dolphin fish and kingies, and snapper at times, but northerlies can shut down a lot of stuff because the water does turn green. You know, you don't get that nice cobalt purpley blue for our bottom fish.
Last Saturday we got a full load of fish and the water was beautiful. It was nice and blue, and I thought, beautiful, this is going to be good. Then it went really dirty and the jellyfish turned up, and we didn't catch hardly caught a fish for the next 5 days, 6 days. You know?
And what was the wind doing?
Easterlies, southeasterly, and it's our worst wind. There's an old saying in our fishing game: "Wind from the east, no good for man or beast." You know.
There you go. There you go.
It's never a productive wind. You know, we love and per seining, we love our northerly, northwesterlies. They're my favourite. Westerly, southwesterly's great, but as soon as you get into that southeasterly, easterly, it seems to be for all types of fishing, doesn't it? Even fishing for, you know.
Yeah, it changes around.
It's one of the worst winds.
Mate, when it comes to, you know, I guess, you know, looking after the bait, once it's caught, it goes into the ice slurry, which we've discussed, and we've just unloaded onto the trucks, tweed bait trucks, then goes over to the processing plant. What's the process from there for people at home thinking, okay, do they just go put in bags, or what's the go?
Well, up in Tweed, at Tweed heads south, we've got that's our main main head office and depot there. We've got 2 bagging machines, and we send them up bulks. Quite often we'll send them up bulk up to there and frozen at -18, and then they'll just put them through the machine and they'll come straight out in their little 1 kilo bags or whatever they want. You know, 1 kilo, 4 kilo, 2 kilo.
And they're the IQFs.
But the biggest seller's the 1 kilo. IQF. And then, of course, it gets distributed out to the depots, and that goes to the shop. And they always they know that the bigger fish sell better in different areas, you know, so they'll make sure they've always got the bigger fish, and they find that some areas like the smaller fish, you know, the pillies from Western Australia, so they go to there, you know. But yeah, it's a huge operation. I mean, Tweed have got, you know, massive big holding room there at Tweed Heads, and we've only got a small one holding room here. I think we only hold about 40 tonne or something, you know. 40
tonne, still a lot of fish. I can assure you that. It's a hell of a lot of fish. Mate, heading out into Christmas, what's the go with you guys? Do you still target other different particular species when the pillies slow down, or do you take the couple of months off a sabbatical to get your gear all right for the right time of the year again?
Yeah, look, it's the weather here at Nyamba is still nice and warm, of course. But you get the wind all day. You don't just, it blows in the mornings as well. And you might only get 2 days fishing a week if you're lucky. And to keep a crew, I always look after my crew to make sure they get paid every week. So if we don't go fishing for a couple of weeks, it comes out of my pocket, you know. I still pay my crew. You've got to have money, you know. A lot of the fishing industries, if they don't catch any fish, they don't get paid.
No. And your crew, mate, I've got to say this morning, for the job that they did was incredible. They would seriously it was a well-oiled machine, you know. And there's a guy and a girl. Okay, so you had obviously Justin there, who's the plant manager at Iluka for the co-op for Tweed Bait, and then we've got Alyssa, and she's an import from overseas. Where is she from? Italy? Or Argentina?
Well, no, she's born in Argentina, and then she went to Italy for 4 years and got a visa. Her passport. She got a proper citizenship for Italy. Then with that citizenship, she can go anywhere around the world. You know, it's much easier. So she decided to come to Australia. But to stay here for the 2nd year, as you know, they need to work on a primary industry. So she lives down the road from Justin. She kept annoying Justin for a job at the factory, but she had no transport, you know. And then when I put an ad in for a deckhand, she applied.
Yeah, nice.
And I thought, well, at least it might calm the boat down a bit, you know. It's nice, you know, the boys won't swear, not swearing, and you know, let's give her a try. And she was keen to have a go, and anyone who's keen, I'll give a go.
On you, mate.
You know, and if they're here on time, it's a big thing being here on time.
Yep.
Because we go, as you know, we go 3, 4 o'clock in the morning.
Absolutely, and that can make a big difference on missing the fish.
Oh yeah.
And when the sun comes up, they sort of shut down a bit.
They do. They come and hit the surface and they run.
Yeah.
And they're hard to catch.
Okay. And because they are fast fish,
Very fast
they
fish.
can swim. And
Yeah,
if you've got a ton of fish, or even 6 ton of fish, obviously they're going to move at a great rate of knots, and you're loading out a fairly big net. You've got to be quick about it.
That's right.
So the crew's got to be on top of the game.
The crew's got to be on the line, and you have there only has to be a problem on the deck when you're shooting, like a tangle up in the ropes or something like that. Then you miss your school.
Yeah.
So they've got to be on the ball, you know. So I pay them to be on the ball, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if they want to earn good money, they've got to make sure that they do their job properly, you know.
Yeah, yeah, and that's a valid point. But it all comes down to respect and loyalty.
Exactly.
And understanding. And I think if you have a worker, and this goes out for a lot of people out there who are wanting some people to employ or whatever, is if they show ambition and keen, then you pretty much got half the job sold to them.
Yeah,
exactly. You know, because they're showing an interest straight away.
Yeah, yeah.
You can't.
Yeah, no, I mean, keenness is keenness and respect are the two, you know, isn't it? You know,
especially in a boat such as this as well, mate. When you're venturing across the bar, what's some of the weirdest things you've seen out in the ocean? You're a seaman who's been around for a long time in New Zealand and WA coast and here. Is there anything that stands out that you think, I don't know what that is? It's a question I ask a lot of people. Is there anything that stands out in your mind that you think, I don't know what that was, but you know, I'll just keep going the opposite direction or something?
Yeah, that's a hard one. Mostly actually in the sky has been the weirdest part. You know, like one day there was light was coming straight for us, and I go, well, that's weird, you know. And then it come along, and then the light just went straight up and disappeared straight up. Well, no plane does that, you know. And you know, that's about the weirdest thing I've ever seen. I think because you know that there's someone else is out there watching you.
Yeah, clearly, absolutely. Along with the man in the grey suit below you.
Yeah, but we've had some like funny things, like not funny, but last year we hooked up a massive big log. Like, it was huge, you know, a big branch. It come down the river. We had it in the net.
Yep.
We managed to get it alongside here, and we towed it in. And we put it on the truck, you know. It was a massive thing. The high had only just lifted it, you know.
Yeah, wow. Yeah.
So you get things like that. So we got it out of the ocean anyway, you know.
Yeah.
So we don't catch it again. So it made a bit of a mess of the net.
Have you seen other fish out there thinking, man, I wish I had a fishing rod? You know, when the mackerel are running, the marlin are about. Do you see anything like that sort of zooming in the schools?
You do. I suppose go back a few years when I was back in the days when we were poling tuna.
Oh, okay. So you've done
southern bluefin tuna out of Albany and Esperance.
Yep.
And I suppose one of the funniest things was there was a boat just not far from us, and Robin Green, a boat called the Helen M, and I'll never forget this. And I heard it. We were very close because we were poling in probably the same school, you know. And I heard someone yelling out, and I saw what had happened. Some of the crew had fallen into the water.
Yeah, wow.
But Robin didn't worry about, you know, there's sharks in the water with it following the tuna. Robin didn't worry about going astern again. He just kept on poling. He said, we'll get you on the round and on the circle, you know. And I thought to myself, oh, I wouldn't have done that. I would have gone back and put it astern and got my crew out of the water. But I thought that was pretty, you know, out there.
That's the boat you don't want to work on. Mate, when it comes to poling tuna, is that something, I mean, it's all about technique, isn't it? You've got to be strong.
Yeah, you've got to be strong. I always wondered why I got sore shoulders, and I think, all those tuna row. Yeah. So sometimes you'd be poling away at 10 kilo fish and easy, bang, bang, you know, and all of a sudden a 40 kilo one to go through and bang, and of course it just about pull your sockets out. You know?
And you don't have much line. Is it cord?
No line. No, it's just straight cord and a bit of monofilament with a barbless with a squid. Looks like a looks like a squid with a barbless hook on it.
And you get the tuna coming right up close to the boat.
Right up. We only had the South Australians had live pulleys.
Yeah.
But we only had dead ones. We only had the guy pulley boats were catching.
Yeah.
So they'd chum up fine. They'd chum them up, and we'd chum. A few times I've had a 100-ton school behind the boat.
Wow.
Of southern bluefin tuna.
Unbelievable.
And we could carry, I think 15 tonne we could carry at the time, and it's only a 42-foot boat, you know, and 15 tonne on board. That's
still a lot of fun though. I mean, poling for tuna, that's something I've never done before. I've poled for like garfish and mullet, but we're talking big fish. So what's the technique? Is when the fish pulls down, you pull back, or?
Well,
You don't give them that
You go in the
chance.
water and you just bash the water. You might, if the fur a bit dodgy, you just tap the water with your pole and let the lure go down, then just give it a bit of a jig and bang, they'll grab it, you know.
Yeah.
But when they're in a rhythm, when you've got the school running through, you know, you're chumming them, and you know, and when they're going, you might use a little white lure with a barbless hook on it, and they just bang, you know, just pull it through the water for a few seconds, you know.
And that's it.
And then once you got through the ear, if they're smaller fish, you could just shake it, and of course the hooks was designed to be very fat you know, start off very thin and then go very fat. So the minute you take the weight off, it falls out of its mouth.
Of course, yeah, of course.
So you just give it a shake, it fall off, and you're back in the water for another one, you know. You just about got another one on before the other one's hit the deck on a good day, you know.
What about the New Zealand fishing that you did over there? Was, you know, what sort of fish species were you involved in over there?
Well, I was involved in trawling. I was brought up in a place called Timaru, and I went trawling out of there, and then a friend of mine, Gordon Nicholson, look, come up to Tauranga. It's a much better fishery. You don't have to bend all day over your back cleaning the fish. You had to clean all the red cod and a lot of the fish you had to clean in the South Island for the market. The gar sharks and the gummies.
Yep.
You call them gummies here, I think, too.
Yeah, we do, yeah.
Rig gummy.
Yep.
You have to clean them and everything. We're in the northern, up in Tauranga, where Gordon went up to fish.
And that's near Whakatane.
Yeah,
Whakatane. I'm getting a surtees boat built. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, absolutely. There you go.
Yeah, we used to fish a lot around White Island and see it smoking all the time, you know. And I was saying I'd never go on that island, it's too dangerous, you know.
But the tourist boats who had all the warnings said, let's go and take a step on this particular island because it's going to make a great photo. Why?
I know.
I mean, anyway, look, let's move on.
It's an active volcano.
Yeah, I know, right?
Why would you step on an active volcano?
I don't know. And there's warnings because the thing was, you know, had tremors going on beforehand as well.
Anyway, we won't go there.
Yeah, no, we'll leave that one alone.
But it's good fishing in New Zealand. I mean, I was one of the first, Gordon Nicholson, and I had a boat called the Sea Wife, and another boat was called the Brothers. And they were the first boats to do pair boat trawling.
Sea Wife and Brothers.
Yeah, Sea Wife. They were the first boats to do pair boat trawling in New Zealand. And I was the first mate on the Sea Wife.
What's pair boat trawling?
2 boats, 1 net.
Right, okay.
And man, that was so. Once they clicked on and worked out how it all worked properly, it was so efficient.
Yeah, wow.
Man, we were doing unbelievable shots of pink snapper, just like you wouldn't even dream of it.
Did you have to get close to the bottom for the snapper though?
Yeah, they're right on the bottom.
So
we used to have one boat up at 99 Mile Beach. I don't even know if they're allowed to trawl there anymore. We used to put one boat right on just about on the beach because it was still quite deep.
Yep.
Right, and then another boat a mile out.
Yep.
Then you'd have run out, and you'd run it. Your net would be probably a mile behind you. So you imagine the sweeps. We had 100. We had weights, and you had your sweeps were spinning.
Yeah.
Going to your net, so schooled all the snapper into the middle, and then the net would come along. Because we could 2 boats pulling a big net, we had a high flying net. We could tow this net that was flying. Most trawl nets only fly about 10, 12, 15 feet max, I suppose.
What does fly mean?
The height between the bottom of the net and the top of the net.
Okay.
But we used to fly these at 45 feet.
Yeah, wow.
So we just go along, and you know, all the snapper on the bottom, they show up in little marks. You know how snappers show up?
Yeah.
Pink snapper, little marks.
Yep.
It'll be just little marks all the way around. We'd show for about an hour. And we had these warp meters, and say you're on 15 ton, all of a sudden the warp meter would just go choom. It would just go off the board. So you had to get your boat would just about stop, and that's how much.
That's how many snapper.
You'd have just too many snapper, you know.
And there's so many snappers still over there too. You know, it's the best fishery. We've had a lot of fun out here, and I'll tell you what, the next time you step outside and grab yourself a packet of IQF or individually frozen pilchards, make sure they're from Tweed Bait, and there you'll know exactly how they came to be in that store. See you next time.
Thank you.
Next week, we're off on another adventure, catching up with cool characters on the Step Outside podcast. See you then.